So we're gonna go ahead and start. It's getting messier in here every day. This eternal project of mine keeps growing. So welcome to everybody to the YouTube. Everybody in Twitch, say hi to the YouTube. Again, YouTubers, if you want to come on into our live Q&A, questions, conversations, and advice, come on by on Twitch and say hi to us. I'm going to jump right in. There's been a couple of calendar changes. So yesterday, people may know, I actually missed yesterday. I took a day off for work. So I did want to update everybody on the calendar really quick. Let me see if I can pull a calendar up. I think I have it here. Where are you? We have Janet Jackson, who can crash a computer. That's not it. All right, so here's the new calendar. The QCNA is going to stay the same. I'm just pushing back the tech code learning stuff from 4 to 6:30, and it's been primarily focused, as it was today, on setting up my home lab. So we're setting up a Proxmox home lab. We're trying to decide what the network configuration is, where to run DNS, what kind of Active Directory replacement, LDAP, Kerberos, all that stuff. So if you want to just come, that stuff is not recorded for YouTube. So the tech co-learning stuff is very loosey-goosey. But, and I've had to reduce the amount of time because, as you can see, I have a fair amount of work that I need to do. But some of this 2.5 hours or so does overlap with my actual job. But that amount of time was reduced by about an hour and a half. We'll still do this, and we'll still do whatever at night, depending on what I'm capable of doing. As usual, we have Matt. Matt, you want to say hi? Matt is here to
Hello.
say hi.
How's it
And
going, everyone?
and as I'm gonna put the offer out to everybody once again. Anybody who is in our audience is welcome to join us. We just need to know who you are in Twitch, so we can come find you and not kill you in your sleep if you troll us. But yeah, and there is one prerequisite: you have to have a mic, right? And we have to do a mic check before. But other than that, we'd love to have you in, so you can throw in your 2 cents. Billy Bob, you definitely can join. It's a little too late for today because we need to check it out. There is a great thing to announce. Yes, Last Miles is back on Twitch. I wanted, before we go, so that's not really a question, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. So Dennis, quote, Last Miles is on the Twitch again. Looking good, by the way, Dennis. If you happen to see this, you're looking good, my dude. Big Dennis fan. And I'm not going to be changing my schedule up at all, but if you want to watch somebody who has significantly deeper experience when it comes to kernel programming, BSD, Unix, System 5, Solaris in particular, and a liver that can take much more work, then you want to talk to Last Miles. Dennis, we love you. We're so glad you're back. He's been doing other things out there, but it's really great to have him back on Twitch. Strager is also back on Twitch, which I want to mention. I don't want to get into the drama that got him off of Twitch. It makes me sad. But he is also back. He's using some really weird alien keyboard that I would never use. And so yeah. You go live. Yes, we are live. Hey, Hayden, how are you? Hayden, if you want to come back in, and you want me to invite you in, I'm happy to invite you in, Hayden. Strager does rule. He's great. Strager's very stoic. We have radically different personality types, but that's what makes Twitch so wonderful. You don't have to have the same personality, nor do I. I would rather not talk about it. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I think I'm reading through the chat, trying to catch up here. That's always a bad thing to do when you do a show like this, because I can get pulled down, but I like to respond to what's in the chat. So maybe next time. Okay. Yeah. Hayden, I know it's pretty late for you, so thank you for being here. A couple questions. One of the questions I have here is, we have a lot of questions to cover today, some fun, some serious. Can I ask Last Miles? Hell yeah. Yeah, so here we go. Last Miles. There you go, Mr. Last Miles, Mr. Dennis. We've been talking about Strager as well. Uh, I don't believe in scarcity mentality. There's plenty of attention and eyes to go around, and the more the merrier. In fact, I think I saw Mossy streaming earlier today. I don't know. I think I might have. So if by the way, if you are a streamer or a YouTuber, even if you're just starting out, and as I've said over and over again, people who are just beginners are some of the best people to watch because you can learn with them. You can do the whole co-learning thing or the co-working thing, and it's a very welcoming environment when you have another beginner, and it's not a huge production, and we can distribute the load across multiple people as opposed to having like one or two streamers that have 6,000 people in there and you can't read anything in the stream. So I'm a fan of that. I hope that becomes the norm for this type of thing. So I have a question here. Should I put my home lab on the internet? What do y'all think? Raise your hand if you have a home lab that is internet facing. And this, you can tell us whatever you want to. A free IPA setup process last night. Oh, Hayden, I got to go watch that VOD. I've been trying to do that all day today. As long as it's secure, you should have one, and that's fine. Okay, what else we got? What other kind of opinions we got here? How many of you anybody here have a home lab that's facing the internet? I mean, I guess technically anybody who's connected to the internet and port forwarding SSH has got a home lab, right? A lot of people have that. It's a pretty easy thing to do. What stuff is in the cloud? Okay. So I have a question about that. How do you feel? How does the chat feel about? Yeah. So, so what do you do about security? What kind of things are you doing, and what are you exposing? So, when I started I'll tell you a story. I'm a big fan of stories. When I started SkillStack in 2013, I had one Linux tower that I port forwarded SSH and Minecraft and the port 80 for web to it from my home router. And, we had enough bandwidth to serve up the requests that we needed. We weren't doing a lot of volume. It was just parents and people who discovered us. It was not a big deal. And it was fine. It was fine. We did that for a very long time. And we did have a power outage or two. And even with UPS, it wasn't enough to keep it up. So I moved to putting the server up in the cloud. And I had another problem when I went to the cloud. When I went to the cloud, we started getting notifications from DigitalOcean that, I had multi-user system. So a few people on the system were not creating strong passwords because they were 9. And, some of them at one time we got turned off because, it had been determined that our account had been used to, run a botnet or something like that. And by the way, those things are really smart. They come in, they use the compromised system, they do their botnet attack, and then they delete all signs of themselves and they go away. So then the question became, well, do I want to police all of the passwords for everybody on the system and run Jack the Ripper or whatever? I mean, that's the one we used to use on everything and make sure everybody has this adequate password and stuff. Or do we even want to have password login at all? And I, of course, am not a fan of password login. Oh, thank you for that, Doc Hayden. But these were kids, so the stakes were different. It was like they can remember their password and they just want to type it in and they just want to do the thing, and there wasn't really nothing super secure there that somebody would have to protect. It was more about convenience and getting them a shell as fast as possible to get work on. So SkillStack changed from that time forward, and we became more about helping people have that access. But then the next iteration of that, this is part of the story, when I set up 16 Mac Minis here and I gave everybody their own server, and they could log into my home systems. I mean, they were running in my home lab, but they had to give me a private key. So I ran it like GitHub or GitLab. I said, look, you can't even access your server until you give me your private public key. So I got to take them through the public and private key generation, and they sent me their key just like GitHub, and I would paste that in, and then they could connect directly in, and that kept things very secure, as long as I trusted them. And we did have a couple issues with students, we'll say, at one point or another, getting kind of power hungry. It's amazing. I call it Anakin syndrome. Once they get in, they kind
of... You offered bonus points to those students, right?
Yeah.
They hacked their professor, and you want to learn how they did it, right?
Yeah. We were doing a Minecraft summer camp once, and this one guy was being so chatty. He was like, why won't you respond to my question? I was like, I'm with, 13, 8 to 12 year olds. I don't have time right now. And so I actually banned him temporarily from the Minecraft server just to get him to be quiet, because he kept distracted, because all the kids were asking, who is this guy? And he freaked out. He got really mad. So he started taking over. He started talking my terminal. I mean, he logged into the same TTY as me, and he saw that I was using tmux, so he attached to my same tmux stream while I was trying to set up these things on the back end, and he was like typing random gibberish, so I couldn't type anything done. I about lost it. I was so angry, and he was just giving me a hard time, because he was like, "Why aren't you talking to me? I'm the most important person. I'm 15 and I have the power." And we almost kicked him out. My wife was like, you need to kick him out immediately. And I said, you know what? Let's talk to him and his parents. And, this is a good learning opportunity. And he apologized profusely, and he went on to do good things. But yeah, I mean, he felt so entitled that he felt like his attention remotely was more important than the current summer camp that was going on, and all these kids that were in need of help. And then, and he wanted a full explanation about everything that was going on and a play-by-play. And I was like, I don't have time for you right now. So I just banned him, and it ended up really angering the guy. Yeah. But that's the first, I mean, that's one of many stories of really intelligent IT geeks, kids or whatever, who have been with me. Some of whom I've actually had to ban, like permaban and remove from the company, and the community. And it's very sad to do that. I call it Anakin syndrome, but a couple of times that happened. Some of them might actually be in the audience right now. I put it aside, and on occasion, my Doris is pretty lenient, and I was even to Doris, come on, let's give him a chance to make this mistake with me and not with an employer, right? Because if that guy had behaved like that on the job, I mean, it would have been so ugly. So a lot of these people did learn those lessons. I've actually, in two specific cases, I'm actually looking at one of them right now on Discord. You're not here, but somebody else who chatted at me, there were other issues, and they come back after the fact and said, hey, thank you so much. I'm looking back at what you were saying, and oh my God, why didn't you kick me out, or why didn't you blah, blah, blah. But they were really young, not all of them, but anyway. So that's a good internet story, internet home lab story. If you do decide to run your own home lab and to give people access to it, putting your lab on the internet is the question. Should I put my lab on the internet? But there's an implied question there, which usually the reason you want to put your home lab on the internet is because you want to enable some access to 1 or 2 or 20 or 30 people. And you have to decide if you want to be a community manager. Back in my garage, when I created tuxzone.net, which is not my domain anymore, that was back in 1995, I think. And that was great. I gave people free access to my system. Anybody at all. I was like, you want a free Linux account? Here you go. I was kind of wide-eyed and, naive, and thought that would be a good thing. And I did. I had a few people, take me up on it. But today, there's no way I'd ever do that. Can you imagine? I mean, giving somebody free access. I mean, I know Het does it for some of his people in his Twitch stream, and I've thought about doing it for y'all, but I just don't trust you. There, I said it. What do you think? Anybody else have an opinion on this?
You shouldn't trust us. That goes right along with your zero trust.
I mean, there is kind of a, when I was doing mentoring, I of course I did trust the people that I had interviewed. Even some of them became problems. But you don't trust you. You shouldn't trust anyone in an age where someone can take everything you own digitally. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. We've been setting up our homelab thing, and there's another question here about whether you set up a DMZ. So, for those who don't know what a DMZ is, a DMZ is when it's just like a DMZ in the military. You set up a zone that is kind of no man's land, where stuff exists there, but if somebody breaks through your firewall, they only get into the DMZ. They don't get into the internal network. They have to break through 2 firewalls, basically. And there's been a interesting conversation today about whether I need a DMZ at all, depending on what I'm hosting at home. A demilitarized zone, yes. Is your system for Tor exit nodes are sketchy. I mean, there's so many things they could do. Yeah, they could turn me into exit node. They could turn me into they could put a bot for a DDoS attack. There's a million things, right? All of those things, by the way, can also be done from a cloud. So, if you have a cloud system, you have to consider that as well, right? So, I guess preliminary conclusion is that I'm not going to be, my home lab will not be internet facing. It'll have internet connectivity, of course, but it won't be internet facing in the sense I'm not going to be hosting any services other than potentially an SSH tunnel to control it, and maybe a VNC or even a full-blown VPN, so that I can access my home network from my Subaru in Texas or whatever, if I need to do anything to it. And then I would just use it for pen testing scans and stuff like that. And if I had any internet facing services that I wanted to enable, I would rather have people compromise cloud systems than others. Their cloud provider will ban you. Yeah. I mean, you got to be, yes, on the raw torrent seeding. Yeah, I mean, there's like so many things you could do. And I'm glad some of you have told all the excuses, all the different things that people would do. So it's not so much to protect my internal. I mean, it does do that. One of the dangers, of course, and I actually had to stop teaching how to run your own Minecraft server at home to people at SkillStack, because I felt like I was compromising the security of their households. Because a lot of these kids, frankly, and Minecraft is riddled with holes. I mean, you can break out of a server pretty easily. And some of them are explicit, by the way. They're deliberately that way.
Didn't the Lodge4j vulnerability come out of Minecraft?
Yeah, that's how they found it.
They found it, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, we're talking about, extremely intelligent, entitled, modders. I mean, the Minecraft community, the Minecraft mod community, is the most toxic, evil community that I've ever had to deal with. I mean, they would deliberately take down somebody else's server if you were running a specific mod because it was a competitive mod. I mean, they just had no, and they actually caught the Pixelmon people giving a root backdoor to anybody who ran the mod, and they put it, I believe it was in I want to say The Guardian, and they sued The Guardian. They sued him. They said it's not your business to disclose that. I mean, that's how brazen they were. It's like, it's not your business to tell everybody that we have a root, backdoor in every server. So, I mean, that was when I stopped teaching Minecraft. I used to use Minecraft as a way to motivate people As I still think that Minecraft is a great way to motivate people. Learning how to run your own server with Minecraft, Java, or otherwise is a fantastic motivator. People want to run Linux so they can run their own Minecraft, and then they do amazing things, right? Uh, but then they would want to run their own server, and I would say, look, run it in the cloud and do it the right way, and that's how we would go. Because for a while, I was showing them how to do port forwarding for 25565, which is the standard Minecraft port, and then they would, they would just have major problems, right? Because people would break out of their internal home servers, and now they got wide access to their carte blanche to their home network. And you break into somebody's home. I mean, we're talking about some of the parents here. I mean, we had CTOs of big banks and, the CTO of PayPal, a bunch of other. We had big people that were the parents of some of these kids, and it just dawned on me that if these kids are running a compromised Minecraft server at home that I helped them set up, that I could actually be putting like an executive at risk at home. And I was like, okay, we're not doing that anymore. And I said, no, nothing but the cloud. So, because if you break into the cloud, at least you're not going to be able to break into somebody's bank statements or something like that. But if you break into somebody's home network, and that's a big deal. So, and that frankly does still have me concerned. And this is part of this conversation, but we've talked about setting pfSense or a separate physical router between your home lab network and your home router. It's kind of one or the other. I feel it really depends on how secure your home network is. My stepson is constantly downloading mods and games off the internet. It's more likely that our internal home network would be compromised. And how would I ever want that to play out if that compromised my DMZ or my internal? And right now, I don't care. But by the way, this is another reason that you should. Another reason that you should never, ever, use your company laptop as a proxy to work, especially if that company laptop is connected to your local LAN. Even with a VPN, if you connect it without being on the VPN at all, you could be opening up that corporate laptop to attack from compromised systems in your home lab. And then once it gets attacked, now you've got, proxy access to whatever. This is where zero trust comes in. And it's why I don't think the future of VPNs is going to last very long, because there's just so many ways. There's so many vectors to get into a company if you need to. So should I put my home lab on the internet? That's the question. I think you should, but I don't think you should make it public facing. I think that you should use the cloud for that, unless you want to run, your own full, business level security, which is pretty much a full-time job, just to keep that up to date and kernels patched and all that jazz. Any other specific questions out there? Let's see. Got me the whole HPE fan. Yeah. Well, that's the one I've been running. Scanning all the internet IPs for open ports is kind of sketch. Yeah. They would cancel their account. Some might do that, Jen. Yeah, Gen2K is bringing out the concern about just even running a scanner. I'm actually kind of interested in that, because that is something. Hey, good night, Teddy. So I do plan on doing some pen testing to specific targets, and I am a little bit leery of what my ISP might do when I start doing that. It's going to be interesting to see. So I'll report back on that. Worst thing of all would be to have my ISP cancel me, and say you've been doing pen testing and you can't do that. All right, other questions here. We have one here that says, oh wait, we have a question for Izzy, which we'll wait on that for another day. We talked about zero trust a little bit just now. So let's just go ahead and talk about this one real quick. Super boring, but important. What is zero trust and why should I care? Um, Zero trust is a kind of an IT mindset that says I don't trust any device, any application, or any person on my internet. So rather than setting up kind of a wall, a firewall, and saying thou shalt not come in, uh, you don't trust anybody on the inside or the outside. And this has become extra piece of info in the lab discussion. Hand waving in Discord is quickly an extra. Oh, nice. Oh, you want to invite Hayden? Okay, here you come. I thought you were going to bed. Welcome, Hayden. So that's what zero trust is. Zero trust is I don't trust anything, and that means
There we
approaching.
go. Can you hear me?
Hey, hi, yeah, we can hear you.
There we go.
So,
Cool.
yeah, and the zero trust thing is just to get it out there really quickly for the common person who may not know. It generally means associating some sort of public and private key identity to you and to every application, and to just making sure you are who you say you are, no matter what. And it takes a lot of extra infrastructure to put that in place. I'm super interested to hear how free IPA might help with that. And Hayden, you just created some information for getting started on free IPA. You did help us out with that a little bit last night, so that'll be fun to look at from that perspective. But the premise of zero trust, just in case you're wondering, is that it's just too easy to fish somebody inside, right? If somebody's inside of your safe network, right, it's just so easy to do any number of things to get somebody inside of your network to effectively start up a service that gives them full access to their computer and to the internal network. So, in fact, it's trivial at this point these days to do that. So, the future of security in the enterprise and elsewhere is zero trust. That means I don't trust my stepson in the next room modding his games all day, right? I don't trust my wife's Instagram, phone. I don't trust, anything on my network. And then you have it also it's extra work, but at the end of the day you end up being able to get rid of some of the complicated VPN login solutions that are out there, because everything could just be on the internet if you're doing zero trust right, which is what, by the way, Slack does, and GitHub and Microsoft Teams. And there's a number of services some of you may be using right now that you don't even have to have a login to your workplace to use them, because they are a part of this zero trust architecture. But we really need a celebrity expert to talk about this. And one of these days we'll get Tanifa to actually speak up and talk about this. Tanifa's done a lot of work on this front, but they are not here at the moment. Think of GPT signing, yeah, your every move. Yes, that's a good way to think of it. What other questions do we have today? We have.
I was going to add something to the
yes.
lab on the internet thing.
Yes, please
mainly,
do.
Mainly for you more so than anyone else. But it occurred to me that if you're looking to move more to like digital nomad type lifestyle,
well, yeah,
putting it on the internet might not be a particularly reliable option.
Yeah.
Because if you're moving around from place to place, you might find yourself in a situation where sometimes you've got an IP address, and other times you might be behind something like CGNet, where there's just no way to route the traffic back to you.
Yeah. I've thought about that. In fact, I don't know if you heard, but I'm probably not going to do digital nomad within the next 5 years. I decided to just stay home based and build the tower out, and eventually maybe log into the tower once we get at home. But it does. I mean, there is a bigger question there, though. I think that you're kind of alluding to again, which is, do you have your home lab in the cloud, or do you have a home lab on-prem at home? What does everybody think of that? There's advantages to both, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'd love to run most of my stuff on-prem and just keep it in my house, but state of UK economics at the moment are not
Yeah.
going to let me do that.
Yeah, and that's usually what it comes down to. I'm putting that as a question actually. So, do you run your home lab on-prem or in the cloud? I think it's kind of both, actually. I mean, DNS services, NS, those kind of things have to kind of be in the cloud if you want to play nice on the internet. But yeah, if you're going to run machine learning or you're going to, I mean, after finding Colada, I'm more inclined to put something in the cloud. But yeah, it's expensive. It's expensive to have all
Yeah,
that.
because I mean, you've got like the cost of hardware. Like, if you just want to play around with something for 6 months, you don't want to drop like $1.50
Mm-hmm.
on fresh new hardware that you're going to use for like 8 months and probably not have a reason to use after that for a
Yeah,
while.
I mean, there's
Whereas in
there's
the cloud, you pay
yeah.
by the hour. If you only need to use it for like 6 months and you only actually need it for like part of the day in those 6 months, you can really cut your costs down.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that brand new fancy server that I got is actually already, renewed hardware. That's how I was able to get it for a deal. And I mean, I say a deal. People are like, "You pay $2,500. Is that a deal?" Um, but it for what I got, 14 cores and 128 gig of RAM. But it's going to be out of date anytime. Uh, so I think I'll try to net out I've talked about this before, but the reason that I am still an on-prem guy is because I feel like there are certain, I mean, mostly it's just old habits. I mean, when I had all this old hardware left over that people would give me and things like that. And now I have a ton of more because of my business that I had. And so I feel like it's just sitting there going to waste. And so if you like to have your hands on hardware and networking and make your own network cables and that kind of thing, and you're okay with using old hardware, you might be able to do it without paying God, what is like a Threadripper these days? Like a 32 core Threadripper is like $5,500 or something.
Yeah, they're not
Yeah.
exactly cheap.
No, and then what? Right? Then it's out of date within a year.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, cool, I have this CPU that can't keep up with any of the modern stuff that's coming out because it's not, fast enough per core.
Yeah. And whereas, you can rent like the equivalent of like a supercomputer in the cloud temporarily if you need it. However, the cloud can be expensive too. I mean, if you're going to try to do something that has any amount of bandwidth, I mean, streaming is one of those things. Um, Minecraft servers are remarkably greedy when it comes to bandwidth. They're really bandwidth hogs as well.
I feel like
Yeah.
most like game servers or anything that's like pretty heavy bidirectional streaming is going to be
Yeah.
pretty taxing bandwidth wise.
But see, then I found Colada, and they're not designed to be enterprise grade web servers, but they're kind of in that sweet spot. So that's kind of got me thinking, might want to do that as well. I mean, plus you can access it from anywhere. So, it really depends on your circumstance, I think is the answer. But I am going to go ahead and build a rack. I do think that everyone who's getting into IT should consider, one, building their own computer from scratch at least once. Two, building out their own home network, just to get acquainted with the concepts. But
Yeah.
beyond that, I don't really have a strong feeling either way. I think it just really depends on what you have available.
Big plus one for building your own PC. I've done it about 3 times from scratch now,
Yeah,
and
it's great.
I mean, it's fun as well, but it is also like good at showing you how all the individual parts would work. Like, you
Uh-huh.
go into it thinking, oh, okay, if I want like the USB on the front of my case to work, I plug that into the motherboard. Okay, so it must be the same with the power button. No, I have these two little jumper leads that I've got to connect to tiny pins instead.
Yeah, oh, I know. It's like all the like getting like the heat glue, and I should probably do another one since it's been so long. People ask me all the time why I don't build my own computers. I'm like, I did it. I got that merit badge or whatever. I don't, I don't need to go do it again. Um, I got the name of the support. I should probably get that right. What is the name? It's not Colada. It's Is it Colaba? What is it called? I can't remember the name.
Colada, like the file extension.
I know. I got the name wrong. And now I'm going to hear about it for sure because I can't. I haven't. Does anybody know what it was? It's not. Oh God. Hosting, live stream hosting. I want to get. I don't want to have this go to YouTube incorrectly. So let me make sure I have it right. The video that I was watching was the how to make a 24/7 live stream, and it talks about it here. Contabo. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I actually called it Colada. That's like a 1990s technology that doesn't even exist anymore. I don't think. Contabo. Okay, and by the way, I don't have an account with them. I'm not.
You got me thinking of pina coladas.
Yeah, Contabo Colada. Dr. Worm says, I paid for my last gaming ring. They also will replace any parts that go bad for free. What? That's a new thing. Haven't heard of that
That
before.
has to be like a first 18 months type deal.
Yeah.
There's no way that's a sustained. Oh, your GPU went bad. Here, have another replacement. Like,
Yeah,
I've heard of Zydex. They're pretty good.
Are they? There's a number of hosting services out there. So yeah, buyer beware. I can't remember the one I used, but it was a horrible experience. I should probably. Is that the one in Utah? One of those Utah servers. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, those are some questions. What else we have? We have a couple of more questions here we could probably fit in. I'm trying to think if there are fun ones or boring ones. So I have one about LDAP, which I think we'll wait till when we're like, I don't know. I don't know how many people want to hear about LDAP all day. What do you think of old cyberpunk? So the Hillhoo asked this question a while ago, and I think it's time to get an answer. So let's put this one on there, and I think we'll go out with this one. Nice fun question. So Hillhoo says, what do you think of the old cypherpunk movement? And did you ask a question, Pseudomaze, that's not in here? I thought we'd cover your question. If you have a question we didn't cover, make sure it's in here somewhere, or put it in the Discord, and we'll get to it eventually. But Hillhoo's been waiting for like 5 days. What has since changed? How aligned are you with the views on privacy? So for those of you who don't know what cypherpunk is, let's go do a search really quick so you can see. What is cypherpunk? And a cypherpunk is any individual advocating widespread use of strong cryptography and privacy-enhancing technologies as a route to social and political change. Originally communicated through the cypherpunks electronic mailing list, which, by the way, has all been archived. There's lots of interesting stuff about that. Let's see. Informal groups aim to achieve privacy and security through proactive use of cryptography. Cypherpunks have been engaged in active movements since the late 1980s. So the first interesting thing I will say, Tornado Cash, I do not know about that one. I don't know it by name anyway. So the first thing I'll say is I have never officially been involved with the cypherpunks. I was aware of them. Cult of the Dead Cow, was that a cypherpunk movement or was that a hacker group? Was that there's that political candidate who was actually a member of that group for a while. You guys know about this?
The way that you phrase that, it's like, sounds like a police interview. It's just like, no, officer, I was never involved with that movement.
Cult of the Dead Cow, also known as CDC or CDC Communications, is a computer hacker and DIY media organization founded in 1984. So Cult of the Dead Cow often gets mentioned in the same sentence as cypherpunk movement. I guess they're sort of different. It's like, the OG hackers and, cypherpunk people. And there are some people who say, and actually, I don't know how much I should say about this, but there's some people who think that the Cicada stuff originated with cypherpunks and may or may not be sponsored by the intelligence organizations from specific countries in order to
I
weed
mean,
out.
that does not surprise me with like the ridiculous like
Yeah,
levels and layers of complexity that are in that. I mean, that thing is still unsolved, isn't
yeah,
it?
it is. But they actually more recently, and I'm going to put another question here. So, what is Cicada 2022, and how does it possibly, and who does it? And the answer is I don't know. Nobody does. However, and I think we have a community member who may actually know the answer to this, and who's not letting up on everything. So I'm kind of skipping over to the Cicada thing from the cypherpunk movement. The cypherpunk movement was very focused on strong encryption. Many of the people, including the people who've created RSA, have been leery of it because every encryption algorithm, as far as I know, that's ever been created was created in conjunction with the American government. So this has been a point of paranoia in the cybersecurity world for decades. That maybe they're keeping the keys to everything, and in fact, some people who created the algorithms have come out, particularly the RSA algorithm, and I forget the name of the guy, but they've come out and said, "Hey, don't use this, don't trust it," and so they've created other ones, and they've all been tanked. I remember Blowfish came out and everything. So encryption is just a method of mathematically confusing the data so that nobody can read it. I actually think that the push for data privacy is a good thing. I think privacy is a fantastic thing, but it needs to be opt-in. I have very clearly opted out of privacy by being, on YouTube and on Twitch and having a smartphone. I actually did not have a smartphone for 2.5 years very recently because I was doing different things. So I am a big privacy advocate. It might not seem like it, but I really am, because you need to have the choice to do it. I also don't think it's possible to have true privacy anymore, which is sad. I don't think, that, at least not in the terms that we use that. But data privacy, we should be able to do. And the knowledge exchange grid, which is a pet project of mine I've been working a little bit on all the time, is based on that, and will ultimately have GPG signatures and content encryption. So we don't care how it transfers over the wire as long as it at rest it's encrypted. Being able to prove who wrote something, I still think is a valid thing that the internet does not do. That little purple checkbox next to Twitch, or the little authenticated check next to Twitter. Did you see the whole thing on the whole expose on Twitter today? Wow, we should pull that up. Yeah, there's the chief security tech officer for former. He was fired. Just like let go on Twitter, and if you haven't had a chance to see that, you might want to go look at that. But leading to a whistleblower. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, who's dissent against governments. I think people who dissent against governments. I think journalists. I think there's millions of reasons to have privacy. People say, well, I have nothing to hide. Secrecy and hide and privacy are different things, and I'm a huge privacy advocate, even though I've chosen to, not do that. I mean, I don't know. It's hard too because you don't know what. I think we need to support it, but it's a lot. It's harder. It's a lot harder. Any other thoughts on that? I mean, I do want to talk about the Cicada thing a little bit. The reason when I think of the cypherpunks, I think immediately of the Cicada thing because if you don't know about Cicada, there's a great free documentary on Cicada, and it's kind of fun if you like sort of whodunit kind of hacker things. The Cicada. Yeah, the topic is very interesting, and there are some hackers who are obsessed with cryptography. Cryptography and hacking kind of go hand in hand, but they are not necessarily the same. Cracking the code, Cicada, the internet's weirdest mystery. Cicada 3301, that's the one, right? Here it is, Dark Web Cicada 3301. I think this is the movie that I actually saw. And without spoiling too much of the movie is about these cryptography puzzles that just sort of emerging, and nobody knows why or how, and it's sucked the greatest minds into it to get to solve them, who became obsessed with it, right? And as people solved them, they started getting more clues. It was like the ultimate, geocache or whatever. And they kept giving him more things, and they kept opening up new levels. And there's lots of theories about who it was who did it. And last I checked, there's no definitive answer, but the best guesses were a state actor who was trying to find the best hackers in the world. And another one of the guesses is that it was created by the original cypherpunk movement, and that some of the veterans, and I like this idea, I don't know if it's true, especially since the tweet that I recently saw, which I'll show you in a second. But the idea that the original cypherpunks from the 1980s and 90s are old farts now, and they put together, this really amazing, sort of Illuminati level, crew to do cool things. And if you wanted to get into their good graces, you had to do it, and you had to get into it. And I really like that idea. I don't have anything to go on that to suggest that's true. The truth of the matter is that people who are in the cypherpunks originally are some of the few people who could really get into the puzzles and stuff. I don't have the brain for it. I'll just tell you right now. Sorry, Cicada. I think it would be really cool, but I just don't. I mean, the type of stuff that they have to know how to do is just remarkable. And then I saw something called on Twitter. Somebody, I'll actually show you my post if I can find it, and you can make your own conclusions. Kind of a fun little, thing here. Cicada. So that's not it. Hopefully it's going to be super. How do you look through your own stuff? Does anybody know? I don't know how to look through my own stuff. I wish I did. Does anybody know how to search for it? I have no idea how to search Twitter. But it's probably in replies because it was in there. So let me this is, if I'm doxing, this is actually probably somebody from the community. I hope I'm not doxing them too badly, but they did put it on Twitter. So anyway, so some time ago, somebody posted Cicada 2022, and there's only two possibilities in my opinion. A government or some agency decided to piggyback on the popularity of Cicada 3031, or it's the original Cicada project kind of giving up a little bit more about its original origins. And either way, it's really fascinating. Did you find it? Oh, look at you. Thank you. So yeah, I don't want to have you read my Twitter feed because you just think I'm an idiot and mean. Let me go ahead and search this for Cicada. If I see if I can find it. But nope, no, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna have to go find out. I wonder if he deleted it. He might have actually deleted it. I tell you what, I'll let that one go for today since we're kind of over time. But and you don't want to see my Twitter feed, I promise. But if you go look through it, you might be able to find it. Suffice it to say that there is a Cicada 2022 movement, and you know what? Let me do one more test over here. I wasn't planning on looking at this, so But I said somebody posted Cicada 22. It was actually Zero Trust. Zero Trust. I could probably find it if I search for Zero Trust. Yeah. Let me. Zero Trust I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure Zero Trust is a United States cybersecurity expert. Did you find it's 3301? That's a different one. We're looking for. How do you look through your own followers? Can you do that? Is that a thing? I don't know the Twitter very well. Zero Trust. I mean, we could search for Cicada. So, bunch of techies. Yeah, I'm trying to find it. I can't find it. I'll have to find it another day. I feel bad because I'm leaving you kind of hanging here, but if you actually want to read through my Twitter feed, which nobody wants to do, but if you do, someplace in here, okay, so somebody posted, it was a hacker, Zero Trust, whoever posted an invitation to Cicada 2022, and it was associated with the United States intelligence community. And I answered the tweet and said, I knew it, period. And the answer that came back was just a wink. That's what happened. That's the gist of what happened. And I don't know if any of those tweets are still there. But so it's there's only one of two conclusions here. Either, and we know that there are a number of high-ranking cybersecurity engineers for the United States government who are in my community. I know that for a fact. But I can't dox them. I couldn't talk about it even if I wanted to. Some of them have been more forthright with sharing their experiences in our stream. And that's fantastic. I think that's great. But that was a specific case where I was actually somebody that I follow. And I don't know but it seemed to me like they were, I don't know. I personally, I think that the Cicada stuff is beyond the capabilities of the United States government. I don't think that's really harsh to say, but I don't think that the U.S. government is behind the Cicada thing, the 3031 thing. I think what this is I think that this is a very, very well-informed marketing campaign on behalf of the elite of the Cybersecurity American Task Force to recruit people like that in a similar fashion that became popular with Cicada. But I don't think that they are the actual Cicada. I think the person might have been trolling me back a little bit. I think that they might have, I don't know. But it could be. It could be that the whole thing was orchestrated by the U.S. government or some collaboration of governments. But if you don't know what it is and you're super interested in it, you might want to. It's a fun rabbit hole to go down, right? Because it is probably one of the biggest mysteries. Oh God, what's his face? Dave's actually answering. Hey, I'm gonna go Microsoft Get Rich and make a YouTube video. Here we go. Cicada 31. So there. We're supposed to be done now. I've left you with enough enigmatic rabbit holes to go chase on your own now if you want to. I hope that I haven't doxed anything. Everything that was here, thank you for the follow, but everything that I have shared was very publicly shared. So I hope I don't get in trouble. What's that? The Libra Primus Sacred Book? Yeah. Yes. That's the first one you have to do, by the way. Yeah. I got to warn you, by the way, if you get into the Cicada thing and you really get into it, you'll lose more hours than I've lost in Dota very fastly, very quickly. So, because It's spectacularly interesting stuff. It's like the world's most intelligent treasure hunt, um, and it's really fun. But it's well beyond my capacity. I want to make similar treasure hunts that are for like mortals, mere mortals like me who just want to learn Linux command line stuff like that. On that note, Matt, you want to say goodbye or anything? You got what do you have to add? Anything before we take off?
No, thanks for sharing that. I'm gonna check that cicada stuff out.
Yeah,
I don't have
especially
anything to add.
okay, doke. So on that note, I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be off, studying cicadas. By the way, the cicadas are just getting ready to stop making noise in my backyard. They're the noisiest bugs you'll ever have anywhere near you.
You mentioned that because I keep seeing them on my back patio. They're like,
Yeah,
I don't know, they keep dying.
yeah, they do. Right now they are. They're all like yeah. They're not around as much as they used to be. So I'm going to go ahead and say cheers and good night, and I will be back doing whatever. Probably still messing with my server. So thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll catch you tomorrow.